Hey everybody! Well, this week we are going to build some cornhole boards for Pufferfish Villas. We're Douglas and Esperanza, and we decided to leave our lives in the US and move to magical Loreto, Mexico, where we built our boutique resort Pufferfish Villas from the ground up and work running it and saving to expand in the future. Please come with us to follow our journey and live before you die. So I got started on building these cornhole boards and I got everything cut out. Now I'm making mini size boards. Let me get some of the pieces together so I can show you here. I'm making mini size boards that are 12 by 24 because we don't have a very long area there to play, and we already have small little bean bags that were with the original set that we got that is old and falling apart. So we're going to reuse those bean bags, and then I'm going to make a little bit bigger cornhole board, and this is going to be a really simple design. This cleats here is going to sit up at the top, then these legs are going to permanently mount because this isn't something we're going to take with us, so we don't need to have legs that fold down on it. And there you will have the cornhole board, and of course we'll put the hole in it. I got some dust in my eye. So I'm working right now on doing all the sanding, and so this is plywood, 3/4 inch plywood that I made this out of, and I've got to sand down all the edges and all the way around to get it ready to put together and then paint. So the first thing I'm going to do is sand down the face of the board that's going to be on the top. That'll give me a nice smooth area for the bean bags to slide on. All right, I went and got my mic with the wind guard because it was really windy here, and I figured you probably couldn't hear anything I was saying. So all of the wood that I'm using on the cornhole set that I'm building is all scrap wood that we had from other projects. So basically this entire project is free, which is awesome because cornhole boards are expensive. They're like $100–200 for a cornhole board. Even a mini one like this is $100. I can build one for nothing. So that's awesome and saves me money. I just have to put in a little bit of elbow grease. All right, next, now that I've got the face all smoothed out, I'm going to sand all of the edges here because all of the edges are a little rough from being cut. And you want to do the flat edges first, and then you can round over all these corners. But if you round over the corners first and then do the flat edges, you'll sand the corners back out and they'll be sharp. All right, and now all the edges are sanded flat, and we will round all of these corners first on both sides, and then we'll round all these corners, and then it'll be ready for paint. Well, actually, I'll probably put it together first and then paint it. All right, and so you can see now that these edges are all nice and rounded off. You can probably see that. That does two things. One, when you grab this and you're moving it around, you aren't going to have sharp edges or possibly splinters. It gets rid of all the splinters that may come off of the plywood when you cut it. It also makes the paint sticks better because paint does not want to stick to a really sharp corner, a sharp edge like this. The paint will will pull away from that edge and you won't have any paint on it. So if you don't round your corners, your paint job won't turn out as good. So now comes probably the hardest part, which is trying to make a 4.5 inch round hole, exactly round, which is the specification for this size of board. And to make that hole without having a hole saw that's 4.5 inches, because I don't have a 4.5 inch hole saw. A hole saw that big, where you could just cut the hole in one shot would be really nice, but it's probably a $30 or $40 or $50 hole saw to make just 2 holes. That's kind of ridiculous. I'm not going to spend that much money to try to find a, and I'd have to order it anyways. I have never seen one that big here. So we will go the other way, which is to use the jigsaw and cut out the hole with the jigsaw. The problem with that is that it is a very tight hole. 4.5 inch is a very tight radius, and that is going to be difficult to get a nice round hole with the jigsaws. I found this diamond cutting wheel that is exactly 4 inches, which is, I don't need 4.5, I need 4 actually for this. And this gives me a 4 inch hole, which I can center. And so we'll just trace that out and get ready to cut. First, I will drill a hole in here so I can get the blade in easy. I'm gonna hand sand the inside of this whole surface, try to get it rounded out a little better and smooth. All right, and then sand over these edges. I might see if I can do this with this palm sander. All right, there we go. It isn't 1000% perfect, but pretty darn good. So let's get the other one done. All right, I got a countersink drill bit, which I will use to put all the screws in and pre-drill them. Now in plywood, it isn't as big a deal, but with this piece of 2x4 that I cut square, it could split easily. Especially if you go with the grain here, it can definitely split. I'm gonna go the other way, but I'm still gonna countersink it. Make sure I didn't come through the top. Okay, that still looks good. So we'll get another one in this side. Screw. And I need a new battery. Be right back. All right, next we are going to put the legs on here. Get all this stuff out of here. So the legs are going to go on the edge, just like that. Actually the other way. And we'll put one screw in each leg here. All right. I'll show you what this does. If you can see this, it puts a little indent in there and a hole through for the screw to go through, and it works really good. All right. There we have the panel, or the setup, and it will sit just like that. Looks just about perfect. All right, put the other one together and then we'll be ready for paint. So while I had the tools out, I also worked on another project that I needed to do. So we got these little Wi-Fi plaques that we're going to put our Wi-Fi information for the villas, and they came with this, okay? But the problem is, when you put this in this piece of wood and you let it go, it just falls over. Now, I have no idea who designed this thing. Obviously, whoever designed this thing and put these both into a bag to be sent out never ever tried to use this piece of wood to set that plaque up. And so it's basically worthless. This thing doesn't do anything. You can't use it for that. So I made the appropriate size holder for this plaque. And you'll see that it slips right in here nice. And look at that. It doesn't tip over. And it can sit right there on the thing. So we'll have this in our villas for the Wi-Fi. And just another thing that, you know, if you have a table saw and some scrap pieces of plywood, you can make something up like this really quick. Probably took me 5 minutes to make that piece up, and we have 2 of these, one for each villa. So yeah, it now saves me a lot of time and effort, because if I was trying to make that thing work, no way, it wouldn't work. So pays to have some tools and be able to know how to use them. Okay, it's the next morning. I'm out here and I decided on kind of a V-shaped stain on these, and I'm going to stain them instead of painting them. Esperanza suggested this because we have some blue stain that I think would look really good on these. So we're going to do natural in the middle and then blue on the outside. And I also have a white stain that makes it like a really whitewashed white appearance. I'm going to see what that looks like over the blue, because the blue might be a little dark, but I think I'm going to first blue stain it, then take this off and then whitewash the entire thing. And that should turn the blue a little lighter turquoise. And I think it's going to look really awesome. So let's get started here and get the stain on. All right, I already made a mess starting because I shook this thing without making sure it was shut. So, but we got the blue stain here. We'll just put it on with a cloth. I'm actually going to do a test piece so I can see what the white's going to look like on here also. So do a test piece at the same time. All right. Okay, that's looking really nice. Really happy with that. Now, I'm going to take off these. Let me cap this up first so I don't end up spilling it. Now I'm going to take off this tape right away, and the reason being is I'm concerned that possibly this stain could seep under this tape and it could look horrible. If it does do that, then I will just do the whole thing blue and figure out something else to dress it up. But I need to check it now before it dries, because then it will really look bad. Oh man, super happy because it did not bleed through, at least on this one. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Okay, so good, it did not bleed through. It looks exactly like I wanted it to look. Perfect. Okie dokie. When I have a rag covered in stain like this, I like to set it out, because if you bundle these things up tight and put them in the garbage, there is a possibility that they can light on fire, because this is oil-based stain, so there's a thinner in it. So I will take this and just lay it out in the wind, and it'll dry out, and then I can throw it in the garbage safely. So now I will let this fully dry. I don't even know if I'm gonna do this today, because I need to let this fully dry, because I don't want, when I put the whitewash on this, I don't want the possibility that it's going to smear over smear this edge out, because I got this nice clean lines on here. I don't want to wreck them by trying to do it too early. So we got to make sure that this is fully dried before we go over it with the whitewash. And I'll be able to tell on my test piece, I will whitewash across this and make sure that we aren't getting any smearing of the blue over before I go ahead with it on the main boards. I am back in the shop. I got these painted, and I decided to do a different type of paint scheme on them. I tried out the white stain, and I remembered from when we tried it before, it almost does nothing. It is so light of a white that it really didn't look good, so I didn't put it on there. And so I decided to use white paint, but I've taped this off, so there's going to be the blue, a strip of wood color, and then the white paint in the middle. And so that was the plan. We'll see if it bleeds through or looks horrible when I get this off. It's a little too wet to take off now. With a paint like this, it can bleed under, or it can drip or be on the edge of the tape. So I don't like to take it off when it's real wet. I like to let it tack up before I try to take the tape off, so that you can minimize the amount of drippage and that stuff. So that'll dry a little bit. I'll come back out here and I'll take that off and show it to you. I think it's going to turn out fantastic. Then there's just one more step on these guys, and that will be to put like 2, 3, 4 coats of clear polyurethane, well, kind of a polyurethane that they have down here, sealer, an exterior polyurethane an exterior polyurethane sealer on these things, and that will seal them all up and make them as slick as possible, because I think you want the surface to be as, you know, kind of smooth and glossy as possible, and then they'll be ready to go down there. Now I'll probably let them sit for 2, 3, 4 days, because I want this to cure 100% before people start throwing bags on there, because it could, if it wasn't cured, it could of course smear it or chip it out or do anything. So, well, luckily the taping that I did worked fantastic, and these turned out just like I wanted. So kind of a cool design there, and They're all ready for clear coat. So now I just have to put a bunch of coats of clear coat on them and they're all ready to go. Finally got the finish completed on the cornhole boards. They are all sanded down and then finished and then resanded to get a very smooth finish on these, because the grain raises up when you put the finish on the wood. So these have all been sanded 3 times and then refinished, coated with a polyurethane type coating, weatherproof coating, and they're all ready to go. Let's try it out and see how it works. All right, looking good. We now have some new cornhole boards because the old one we had, I'll show you the old ones we had. So these are the original mini cornhole boards that we got from one of our viewers on YouTube that actually brought these by and gave them to us as a gift, and it was awesome. And this, as you can see, is the smooth surface side of these boards, which was heavily deteriorated by the sun. These things never really got that wet, so this is more just the sun deterioration. And then they had another side. This is actually like almost neoprene, and this side was starting to deteriorate also. And so that's why I decided to make some new boards, because people do use these. I've seen many people play with these cornhole games, so I wanted to definitely keep that as one of our amenities. And I didn't make the full-size boards because they're supposed to be like 27 feet apart. We don't really have any area that you can get that far apart, so I decided to go with the smaller, what they call mini size dimensions, or some of them call it recreational size, and that way you only have to be about, I think, 18 feet apart or 15 feet apart, which is just perfect for the location that we have for these. So now that they're done, take them down, put them down at the villas, and it'll be all set up for cornhole going forward. And I got the cornhole boards down here all set up next to the hammocks, so we got a nice flat even place here to set them up, and there we go. Got a little bucket here that we keep the bean bags in, so perfect, all ready to play cornhole. Thanks everybody for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and never forget to live before you die.